right? Get control on it and destroy it. Seek and destroy, right? So these are the some of the functions or missions of the paramilitary, para special forces. Now you know what it is, right? You know uh, what responsibilities they are carrying, right? Now, very next question is how it begins. Right? So, how the selection is being done. Right? So, Marcos is volunteer. Garuda is not volunteer, but the Pyara SF is volunteer. Right? So, since there are so many troopers, right, or troops of Pyara, therefore it is written all Pyara troopers are volunteers. Right? These are volunteers. So always keep in mind, Marcos and Paras are volunteers, whereas Garudas are not volunteer. Fine. Here, what is meant by volunteer? You can leave at any point, right, during the probation. Always keep in mind, during only at probation. Fine. So that is the meaning of volunteer. Fine. Even in Garudas, you cannot uh, leave it, right? So once it is always. Fine. So that is the meaning of volunteers. You should understand. Now they are always put on probation. Right? So the process of selection is right. So the period for probation, as you know, for Marcos it is of 6 months, right? In this particular case, if you consider, then it will be having variations. So depending on the different battalions, you can consider, right? Uh, there are variations, right? So the probation period for paratroopers is of 3 months, and for para special forces it is for 6 months. I'm aware that at this point you must be having now question that what is difference between paratroopers and para special forces. So whatever we are considering is a para special forces, and all of a sudden from where these paratroopers have come, right? Again, in this, not only paratroopers, it is associated with a word airborne, right? So obviously we will be understanding it. So always keep in mind 3 months period for paratroopers. Right? See, every para special force was once upon time was a paratrooper, right? So paratrooper is a pre-stage of para special forces, right? So if you complete a 6 months training, sorry, 3 months training, which is called probationary training, then you will be put into a battalion or the paratrooper, which is called paratrooper airborne, right? Airborne parachute, that will be coming up, right? But you know, and that is the reason why why you are having a parachute regiment, right? So parachute regiment. So we have considered in parachute regiment the 5 battalions, right? So these are the 5 battalions: 5, 6, 7, 23, 29. These are the numbers of their battalions. You should not worry about these things. Right? Don't consider that why they are not in a sequence, right? So many a time some of the reforms get took place, and therefore these numbers get changed. So you know that 23 number was earlier considered as number 8, then it was changed to something 19, then again it was changed to some other number, and finally now it is 23. It may get changed. You know, very recently our regiment of cavalry is going to be now dissolved into or get converted into infantry division, infantry regiment, right? So hereafter you will be seeing cavalry regiment only for the president, right? So apart from these presidents, you know, whatever the cavalry you see around the president, so that is actually part of the regiment which is at Rajasthan, right? So there it is. Now they are going to change it, right? So you should not worry about the numbers. Fine. So what I was talking, after completing 3 months training, you will be put into the paratroopers, which is called paratroopers airborne. So in that particular case, you will be learning the parachute jumpings, right? So at least you have to complete at least 10 para parachute jumping, right? You know, as I said, MS Dhoni was put in this case, though it is a voluntary, sorry, not voluntary, honorary rank, right? Though it is a honorary, right? As like Abhinav Bindra got it, as like Sachin Pilot got it, as like Sachin Tendulkar got it, as like Kapil Dev got it, right? Mahendra Singh Dhoni had also got it. But what had been done, or what is the difference between others and MS? So MS had written to Chief of Army Staff that he wanted to be a regular officer of para, right? That means he was ready to go, he was ready to undergo the training, and MS Dhoni had taken the training of paras, right? Till now he had completed 5 parachute jumps, right? You haven't come across again what kind of parachute jump, so you will understand the meaning of the gravity of this term, right? Fine, I will keep it as a suspense for a while. And then what I was talking, MS had till now completed 5 para jumps, right? So initially he had taken the training of more than 3 weeks, and then he had gone for that particular parachute jumps. Fine. So that would be, if possible, you can see his video, right? I think it is available with some of the anchors of Aaj Tak. So usually every year he is completing his training, right? So right from 2000, he was honored in 2011 the honorary rank lieutenant colonel. So these honors, someone might be having, why these people are honored with these ranks. So here I will tell you, in order to attract the youngsters towards the armed forces. Because of that, these honorary ranks are being honored, right? Even in the same year, by and large, around the same year, Sachin Tendulkar had also honored a rank in the Indian Air Force, right? So that would be the case. Fine. Now, here, if someone is having a question that whether these honorary ranks get payment or the salaries like the regular armies, so answer is no, right? Then you will be asking that what about MS Dhoni, right? So probably he might be getting the uh, salary because he is the regular officer of the para. Keep in mind, right? So he has completed training, right? And he will be looking the daily operations or the routine operations of the paras, right? So probably you will be finding out this kind of thing. So I don't know exactly whether he gets it or not, because I do have a thinking that though Indian Army offered him, he must have refused it. Right? So that would be the case. That's why I'm saying that I don't know whether he is getting it or not. Anyway, so after completing training of 3 months, you will be put into a paratroopers airborne. So there you will be having such kind of training. Fine. So there are 5 different battalions of this one. Right. As I said, 9 of parachute. So these are the of parachute. Fine. Now, if you want to be a part of special forces, right? If you want to be a part of special forces, that means now you will be going for advanced training. So once completing 3 months training, it is your choice that you wanted to go for advanced training or not. That means whether you wanted to become a para special force or not, right? If you want to become a para special force, you have to again go for 3 months extra training, which is again a probationary training, right? So 6 months probationary training, right? After completion 6 months probationary training, you will be placed into a para special forces battalions, and there you will be having a training of around 3 years and 6 months, right? So 3.5 years training, right? So that would be the case. So there are different battalions: 2 3 4 2 3 4 9 10 11 12 21, right? So these are the different battalions of DPRs. Again, don't worry about these numbers. So this is only for your information. I have put it here. Now, in order to be a para special forces, so every person has first undergo or has to undergo the paratroopers, right? So it is need that you should be required to qualify as paratroopers. Unless and until you qualify as paratroopers, you will not be considered for para special forces. Fine. So always keep in mind. I think I have also summarized in one of the next slides. Fine. Now, then what happens? So after completing your training, right? After completing your probationary training, you will be placed either in a paratroopers or you will be further continued for probationary training for to be placed into the para special forces. Then your training is start. Right. So para training is the one of the longest and toughest training in the world. Right. So 3.5 years is not a less time period. So 3.5 years training. Fine. Is the training for para SF, which is toughest and longest. Then what you are doing in this, what you will be asked to do in this particular training, right? So as very first time you have come across a terminology called sleep deprivation, right, in the Marcos, right? So here again the para commandos or the para special force candidates are exposed to sleep deprivation, right? Sleep deprivation, कमीत कमी झोप म्हणजे, right? As you know, as I said in the Marcos. Second is humiliation. I will not spend time on deprivation. Humiliation. मराठीत त्याचा शब्द अर्थ आहे पान उतारा करणे, right? So you will be humiliated during your training so many different times, right? It is for what? It is for the purpose of strengthening your mental abilities, right? Or mentally how you should uh, behave in that particular case, and that for that purpose it is humiliated. For example, if you get after becoming para, if you get trapped by let's say one of the enemies, right? Again, if you consider the movie Commando first, right? You can consider, I think, Vidyut Jamwar, right? So he was catched by the China, and you know how he had tortured in that one, right? Even if you torture to the extreme, right? You will not reveal any kind of secrets. You will not provide any kind of uh, information, right? You know there is a part of training. Even you will not be telling your name to the enemies, right? So whenever someone asks you what is your name, you will be saying that batch number, right? Even the same thing had happened with the Abhinandan, right? So when he was catched by Pakistan, so he had asked name many a times, right? So he was only saying his batch number. So batch number is the identity. So once you know the batch number in the forces, everything will get understood. Only thing is that it becomes the legal way, right? In order to go for unhiding the batch number, right? You have to always go legally. Who will allow you to unhide everything related to that particular number? That means it becomes legal, right? See, this is the logic. Why only batch number? If again, someone would have thought about it. Fine. So humiliations, right? You are always humiliated, right? So that your mental stress, right, or mental strain get always enhanced. Next one is exhaustion. Like, you know what is exhaustion? मराठी शब्द आहे खंगून खंगून, right? म्हणजे तुम्हाला एखादा असा आजार असेल की ज्याच्यानं त्या आजारानं तुम्ही खंगून खंगून अगदी पार मृत्यूशय्येवर जा, right? So this is exhaustion. You will be put under a training where you will be completely exhausted, and then you will be asked, okay, now you are exhausted, go and have the let's say 20-kilometer run with the 60 kg load on your back, right? As like in Marcos, you have to do a kind of 3 days continuous exercise, then followed by obstacle, followed by the mud passing, followed by a gorilla obstacle, and then you are asked to fire, right, the rounds, and around that target your dearest one or your buddy is there, right? And you had only a sleep of 4 hours in that particular time period. Fine. So this is the case what is of exhaustion. जेवढं काय सगळं आहे ते सगळं काढल्यानंतर तुम्हाला सांगितलं okay, now you start new one, right? That is exhaustion. So you can, what exhaustion must be doing. So exhaustion must be strengthening your physique. So physical strengthening must be done through that particular. So this is the way. Fine. So mental and physical torture, as I said, right? So by doing physical torture, right? It is always checked that to what extent you can sustain, right, the torture, or how much you can sustain in mind. So that is called a physical torture, so that your mental stress and also the physical sustenance, right, or sustaining capabilities are known. Now the first time this point has appeared here, right, I think at the time of Marcos or Garudas, we haven't come across this point, last one on this slide. Deaths have been reported during the selection process of para special forces. Right. So deaths have been reported during the selection of para process, during the selection of the para special forces. Right. So the volunteers who are uh, taking the training, like some of them might have lost their lives while taking the training. Now, if you see, already you are deprived, you are humiliated, right, you are exhausted, and later on एवढं सगळं झाल्यानंतर later on you are allowed for a physical torture. So sometimes it is exactly equal to death, right? So it leads to the death, right? So therefore in this it is reported. Now in this selection process, some of the consequences you need to consider, right? So the rate of attrition, rate of exclusion, even even we have considered in Marcos, in the very first training of 3 days, around 80% get excluded of the Marcos. So here also, right, so that rate, and altogether it goes to around 98%, right? So the attrition rate is very high in this particular case. That means here hardly the selection exceeds 10%. That means again here rate of attrition or rate of exclusion, sodun janar, is more than 90%. Those who have volunteered, among them more than 90% of the volunteers leave, right, the training, right? But as I said, it is only allowed you to till you are in the probation period. Then you are not allowed, right, to go into the probation period, to go to leave the training. Fine. So this is the attrition rate we can consider. Now next one, though you complete a training as a candidate, right, you are not formally inducted into the regiment unless and until you complete a balidan pad, right? Balidan pad. So what this balidan pad is, right? What it means? It means even after completion of training of 3.5 years, you will not be formally inducted into the regiment, right? So that is the case, because there is one more thing which you have to acquire, that is called balidan pad. Right. So after training, the candidates are always involved in active operations in a hostile for for a period of 1 year, right? And if the candidates survive the balidan pad, that particular 1 year's time period is called balidan pad or balidan sacrifice, right? Sacrifice pad. Then they shall earn the balidan badge. Now, why this Balidan Pad is there? And at the slide of the flag and badge, I said, right, how you get this Balidan badge. Fine. So, Balidan Pad. So, they shall earn the Balidan badge. Fine. That would be the case you can consider. And then formally you get inducted into the regiment. Fine. So, that is the case. Again, it is a part of selection also. Selection is. So, the soldiers of Indian Army who are volunteered for these courses, right, which are irrespective of the rank. Irrespective of the rank, once you are in the training, right, I think it is written there. Fine. So depending on the battalion, volunteers of the course irrespective of rank. So depending on the battalion, the probation period varies, as I said, 3 months, 6 months, sometimes it goes to the 9 months. Now, what here you can consider, there are geographical areas. Suppose you want to fight into the Rajasthan desert. If you want to fight into the jungles of northeastern states, right, Meghalaya, Mizoram, right, then that would be again geographically different, right? Then sometimes you want to fight with the Siachen glaciers, right? Fight at the place of Siachen glaciers, so mountains. Fine. So you will be having different kinds of geographical positions. Accordingly, you are and in which battalion you are placed, right? That is your that to be again voluntary. Fine. So you will be always having these kinds of uh, trainings of probation. So with additional time of specialized skills selection. So that is further training. So over the probation period, what I want to tell you, all the soldiers or the officers, right, have to strip out their ranks, right? Neither me adhikari and to shipahi hai. This kind of attitude is not there. So including officers and soldiers, they have to always strip out their ranks, and all they are known as probationers. Right? Me lieutenant hai, me captain hai, right? To shipahi hai, to lance naik hai. So aisa bhedbhav ajibat nahi. Fine. So these are the things. You are only the probationers. And during any day, as I said, of the course, the probationers can opt to leave the course, but it is only during probationary period. Fine. Now, each special forces, right, operate as it specialized in various skills, right? Now, if you consider, so these the skills acquired by these special forces, so what kind of different things they get acquired? So obviously they must be having training of weapons, demolitions, navigations, communication, even medical. Right? If you get injured at the site of the operations, right? So who will look after you? So you yourself has to look after you, right? So to a certain extent, the training of medical is also given to these particular commandos. Fine. Then they are always focused on. So this is a part of training. So they are focused on always strategic reconnaissance, as I said, right? It is very important. Surveillance. So obviously, surveillance is the best thing, or the preliminary research, and uh, along with the surveillance will be always helping you out to form a kind of strategy, and that strategy is always having a designation of target. So again, you have to have a training for that, right? So you will be always trained to target designation. Fine. Then obviously, if you find out your target, whether you want to destroy it, whether you want to uh, rescue, right? So there are two different kinds of things. Fine. If it is a rescue, so hostage rescue, for that you will be always trained. Second thing is here, you can consider is the direct action, right? So if you are there, if you are going for direct actions, then you must be trained for it, right? Sometimes you will be going for this, right? So simultaneously in the Hotel Taj, NSG have done both the things. They have rescued the hostages, and they have gone for the direct operations. They have killed the uh, terrorists, and they have saved the lives or rescued the people who have trapped in the different rooms. Now, if you consider, as I said, para special force always works in a very small teams, a group of 5 to 8 men. Group of 5 to 8 men. Fine. You know, the martyred Major Sandeep Unnikrishnan. So he had a team of 8 men, right, from the site where they have gone for searching of the terrorists. Right? So those who complete the probation period and are inducted into para special forces, they have to further undergo selection and training, right? That is called advanced training, which you can consider. And after that advanced training again, right, you need to earn a Balidan badge. And that, you know, what is the process of earning of that Balidan badge, right? So for that, you have to further survive being deployed in an active operations of 1 year in a hostile zones, right? That is known as Balidan Path. Fine, and then you can get it. So altogether, how many different stages through which you get pass on and emerge as para special force? Very first, you have to be part of any of the regiment or any of the groups in the military, right? That means you have to be the army man, right? So you must need to join Indian Army. Along with, obviously, once you join, you will be always going for the basic training requirements. So your basic training is always done, right? Right. Who you are, whatever you are, for what you have entered, right? Everyone has to have a basic training, right? After basic training, uh, you may apply for, or that is, you may volunteer for the para airborne or para special forces, right? And for that, again, you have to go for the necessary medical requirements. So if you fulfill the necessary medical requirements, then you will be always in the in the side of selection, right? So you will be always crossing the pre-selection process. Then selection process. So selection process is nothing but encompassing for selection process. That is completing the second stage. That means now you are available for selection process. And again, there you will be having a basic training of the special forces. That is probation in the special forces, 3 months or 6 months or 9 months. That would be the case. And once you complete it, always you will be going for the advanced special force training, right? That you can consider, right? So advanced special force training. So all those who opt for para special force must qualify for para airborne, right? So that is the case you can consider. So these are the 4 different centers. So in one of the earlier slides, I have mentioned the different parts of trainings or different things of trainings, right? During the tenure of training. So where you are completing it, that training. So I think once a while, maybe in yesterday or day before this session, I said that you will be always considering you will be always having a training at different institutions or at different training centers. The whole training is not completed at single training institute, right? Or at the same training place. So you have to always uh, wander here and there for training, not only in India, but also sometimes you will be always having some kind of joint training exercises, right? That is also listed. So very first, obviously, you will be going for a commando training camp, CTC, which is at Belgaum, right, in Karnataka. There you will be having your first training, right? So I think there is a very good web series. I forgot its name, right? So which is completely related to the training at this particular camp or the CTC at Belgaum, right? If you could see, or you can go through a kind of videos on YouTube about these ones, so you will be coming across that particular point, right? So commando training camp, Belgaum. Then you will be going for a 4 weeks high altitude commando course, right? High altitude commando course, so which is at Arunachal Pradesh, right? particularly known as, the name of the school is Parvat Ghatak School in a place of Tawang, fine, in the state of Arunachal Pradesh. Then you will be having a desert warfare school. As I said, if you want to have a battle at different geographical places, right? So you must have training at all these things, right? So as I said, northeastern states, right? So that is high altitude commando courses, right? Or the course that you had that particular train. If you are in the desert, so you will be having desert warfare tactics or desert warfare training through Desert Warfare School at Rajasthan. Then High Altitude Warfare School, right, which is at Sonmarg, right. There you can have this High Altitude Warfare School in the hilly areas, in the mountains, right. There you can have this particular. So particularly it is at Sonmarg in the Kashmir, right. Which is world's the Sonmarg is a place, or this high altitude warfare school is world's best, the world's training institute at highest uh, point, right? So in the hills of Himalaya, right? So there you can have that particular training. Then you have to always look, as I said, combat diverse, right? So as like Marcos, Marcos are trained for all the terrains. Likewise, paras are also trained for all these terrains, right? So till now they have the training of, let's say, by and large of on the land, right? Now they are going to become diverse, right? So their basic combat diverse course. So they, as like Marcos, they are having the training at Kochi. So at Indian Navy's dive school, which is at Kochi, they will be trained for the tactics underwater, right? How you will be fighting war underwater, right? So that is the dive school, at the dive school. Then counterinsurgency at a school of counterinsurgency and jungle warfare, right? Which is where it is in the state of Mizoram. There you will be having a kind of training, which is again the counterinsurgency. Now see, whatever the functions and missions we have mentioned, so for each and functions, para commandos are trained specially at different places, right? So you can consider how specialized they must, right? So they had the specialized trainings at different things, right? Then Indian Special Forces Training School, right? So this is the at Nahan, where you will be this. See, Special Forces Training School, whatever the training you get at Special Forces Training School is particularly, in my opinion, right, is about intellectual. Right? There you will be, obviously physical is always there, but most uh, what we can consider, the more emphasis must be on other aspect. Fine. So Himachal Pradesh. Then combat free fall training, right? Free fall training. So now the part of year, right? So HAO and HALO, as I said in the Marcos as well. Right? So here you'll be having combat free fall training. So high altitude, high opening, high altitude, low opening, right? So through the parachute, right? So which is at Parachute Training School. It is at Agra. So you can consider these different uh, trainings or aspects of training the para commandos got. Fine. So they are always taught to be specialized, right, in the infiltration and exfiltration. Right, the day of para commandos get always start by 20-kilometer run with the infiltration, exfiltration, assault training, right? So this is their actual day of start, you can consider. So either they will be having the training of infiltration, exfiltration, right? Either by air, that is combat free fall, or sea, right? For example, if you want to go deep into the enemy lines, the case you have considered, I think we are in the last minute of the session anyway. So if you consider Uri, so our commandos have gone there by, by the way of air, that is through the helicopter, right? So they are infiltrated into the Pakistani land, right, or that particular place, right? And they have to again exfiltrate it. They have to go there and come back, right, by air. Sometimes you have to go through the sea, right? So that is combat diving, right? So we can consider. So diving